Okay. Hi everyone. So as we have discussed, right? So we are going to have the topic which is like not discussed too much. This is like our POM configuration. So generally we go with the common model where we'll embed or dump everything in one our application level POM. We can actually really structure that pom.xml in a better way so that we can enforce standardization, like throughout my organizations. I'll give one example. Throughout the organization, I want to keep for our http connector. Okay, I want to keep only one version throughout my organization. I have, let's say, multiple business group, and I want to keep the same version across my business groups. So we can use a different concept called Parent-POM, BOM, and we can leverage this to keep the standardization uniform across our business groups, and we can enforce that, hey, everybody should use this version. So that there will be discrepancies, right? When you talked about different versions, some versions won't support, some versions won't support, or some versions support something else. So there will be always problem, right? So keep that standardization. We have this concept called Parent-POM, BOM, and application level POM. So Shan is going to discuss and give you more insights about this three topics, or maybe topic within topics. So we'll discuss those things. Okay. So before moving on to the topic, I'll read this server statement. So both speakers and the host, we are organizing these meetups on our individual capacity. Okay. So here we are not representing any of our companies, and the presentation what we are going to present here, that is just for the learning point of view. We are not doing any propaganda here or promotional activities. If somebody is presented here and if that won't work on your scenario for your business solutions, we always recommend to go through the documentation of MuleSoft. Don't refer other documentation, refer the MuleSoft documentation. Those will be always up to date, and look at where we are missing. Okay. Then the recording, as I mentioned, before 24 hours, this will be available on our Meetup page. And make it interactive. Don't make it like a webinar. As we started, we have started with the interacting part. So let's discuss. Okay, if the questions are not answered right away, we'll take it, and maybe we can answer those on other forums. You can connect us on LinkedIn. You can connect with Sham or any Microsoft ambassador or mentor, and those questions will get answered. Last part is very important for us: feedback. Okay, we always look for the feedback, and that is what the bread and butter for speaker as well as organizers. What new things we can bring to this platform, because this is the best platform to share knowledge and come together. Okay, so from different companies, people will come together and they will share their knowledge and grab the knowledge. So last part is very important, what you are looking for. As part of organizers, Balkish is not available today. She's having some personal family work, so she's not available. About myself, I have around 15 years of experience now in the industry. More specific to MuleSoft, I have around 5+ experience now. I'm a MuleSoft ambassador, recently awarded, and then I work for different domains. So healthcare, the healthcare, I go with the other domains also, but multiple domains I worked on in MuleSoft. Okay. I generally work platform side, where I do all platform setup, all CI/CD setup, and then provide the solution architecture also. Okay. Over to you, Sham. You can take it from here.
Sure.
And
Thanks,
first of
Ashish.
all,
Yeah.
first of all, thanks for your time. Okay. Thanks for having here, and thanks for joining everyone. Okay. Over to you, Sham.
Yeah. Thanks, Ashish. Hey, hello everyone. My name is Sham Kulkarni, and I'm having 2 years of industry experience in the integration domain only, working on MuleSoft, and currently working as lead engineer at Epicero. Okay. So, so in this session, we are going to look at dependency management. Okay. But before starting dependency management, we are going to look at some Maven basics. Okay. Then we will look at a scenario where dependency management is a need, and we'll move on to demo part at the end. Okay. So so dependency management is often a complex process, and it is kind of a frustrating part of software development, and we are always worried about how to manage different plugins and dependencies effectively. Okay. So first, let us look at the Maven basics. Okay. So we use Maven to avoid writing scripts for building projects and manually downloading the dependencies. And what are the dependencies? So those are nothing but libraries or jar files. And we need to specify required dependencies in our pom.xml file, project object model file. Okay. So what does Maven do? Maven parses pom.xml file and checks for the dependencies within the local Maven repository. You might have seen in your C users path, you have a .m2 repository, right? So Maven parses that POM XML file and checks for dependencies within the local Maven repository. And if it doesn't find them, it gets them from the Maven central repository. For example, we can have plugins dependencies and downloads it from central repository and stores it in the local Maven repository .m2. But how does Maven finds them? Okay, that is the question. So Maven uses Maven coordinates, which is a group of group ID plus artifact ID plus version. So for everything like projects, dependencies, and plugins defined in the POM XML. Okay, and let's say if we want to connect to a private repository or Nexus repository, right? So for external credentials, it uses Maven settings.xml to connect with external repositories like Anypoint Exchange or Mule Maven Enterprise repository. Okay. Now let's have a look at Maven lifecycle. So Maven follows this lifecycle to deploy and distribute the target projects. So there are three built-in lifecycle. First is default, which is nothing but the build lifecycle as well. Okay. It is the main lifecycle of Maven as it is responsible for project deployment. Then we have clean, which is responsible for cleaning the project and remove all the files generated by the previous builds. Okay. And in case of site, it is used to create projects site documentation. Now, each life cycle is made up of sequence of phases, and a Maven phase is a stage in a Maven build life cycle, and each phase executes a specific task. So if we consider the default or the build life cycle, so we have a validate phase which checks if all the information necessary for build is available or not. Then then compiles, which compiles the source code. Test compiles, which compiles the test source code. Then test, it runs the unit test cases. Package, which packages the compiled source code into a distributed format like jar and war. So you might have tried this command mvn package, right? So uh, basically takes the compiled source code as an input and converts it into a distributed format like Java archive and web archive. Then comes integration test, which processes and deploy the package if needed to run integration test. Then comes the verify phase. Then comes install phase, which installs to a local repository .m2. And then comes the deploy phase, which copies that package, that jar file, to a remote repository. Okay. And each phase, now whatever phases that we have seen, right? So every phase is a sequence of goals, and each goal is responsible for a specific task. So when we run a phase, all goals bound to this particular phase execute in order. So whenever we write mvn space phase, it is same as mvn plugin colon goal. So for example, compile phase can have compile as a plugin and goal as compile only. Test can have surefire colon test, package jar colon jar, and so on. Okay.
Hey Sham.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just want to ask question to the attendees. Okay,
Yeah.
so we are talking about M2 folder, .m2 folder, right? So you guys can answer there. Okay, whoever is beginner, right? I'm expecting answer from them. When this .m2 folder will be created, you can go ahead and answer in the chat. We want to make it more interactive. Okay,
Yeah.
when this .m2 folder will be created, anybody? Sham already answered what will be there in the .m2 folder while install studio. Okay. Naveen, you are close. Okay. After initializing studio. Perfect. Okay. So when you start your studio, that time your .m2 folder will be created. Now, do we get stating.xml over there inside .m2 folder? Because Sham showed one setting.xml. Okay. Yeah. So Sham, you add there, this setting.xml won't be available there. We need to create
Yeah,
it. Okay.
correct.
And setting.xml, there is one more variant of setting.xml, guys. Okay. Secured setting.xml. Okay. I don't know how many of you tried it. We can use secured setting.xml to encrypt our setting.xml. If you want to see that, or maybe you can go to my YouTube channel where you can see how to encrypt or setting.xml. So there will be a wrapper. We can encrypt all our credentials which are there in our setting.xml by secure setting.xml. So there is a
So
variant.
settings.xml references that security settings.xml, right?
Yes. So in secure setting.xml, there'll be a master master key which will be used to encrypt your setting.xml credentials. Okay, so whatever you have in setting.xml, everything will be encrypted. And top of that, you'll be having secret setting.xml. That there you'll be having master password.
Correct.
Okay. And latest Maven, if you go with the latest Maven, this package, MVN package, if you say MVN package deploy, this command is not going to work. Okay, so if you go with the latest 3.8.1, the package, if you run this command, right, MVN package deploy or MVN package clean deploy, package is not needed now. Okay.
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 Yeah.
So you can take one question. We have one question. So since we are on this slide,
Hmm.
so Krishna is asking how pom.xml will fetch respective dependency from Maven. Can you please explain more clearly?
Okay.
Hmm.
So before Maven was introduced, right? When there was no Maven in this world, so what developers used to do, basically in Java projects, they used to download the jar file or the library from the internet, from the public internet or from the repositories, and they used to place it into their own projects. Okay, but Maven reduces this task by allowing the developers to just focus on the implementation part. Rest, you just have to define a dependency in your pom.xml file. Now, what pom.xml file will do, it will try to look at the local M2 repository. Okay, if it doesn't find that particular library or a jar file, it will go to mvnrepository.com where all the repositories are listed. It will try to download and fetch that details into the local M2 repository, and hence your Mule application or any Java application can start working without having to worry about the downloading that jar file and or library and placing it into your project. Right,
Yeah,
Ashish? Yeah.
yes, Krishna. More crisp answer to your question is in your pom.xml. If you have any dependency, okay, that will be uniquely identified by the coordinates which Sham showed. Okay,
Yes.
the group ID, the artifact ID, and the version. We call them GAV. Now this GAV will be searched in your M2 folder. In M2 folder, you'll literally see the hierarchy. Whatever group ID you mentioned, right? With that, there'll be a folder. Inside that, there'll be artifact. Inside that, with the versions, you'll be seeing. So this dot, right? The group ID, there'll be a folder. Inside that, artifact ID, there'll be a folder. Inside that, version will be there, and inside that, there'll be a jar file. So you're asking, right? Fetch respective dependency by looking at these three coordinates. We call it coordinates. Based on this coordinate, it will go to M2 folder and then take it. And as Sham mentioned, right, if that is not there, it will get downloaded.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I hope this answers. And should I continue, Ashish? Or you want to?
Yeah. He's asking. Vivek is asking, what is classifier? You want to take that
Uh,
classifier?
Classifier, you mean classifier we add it as a mule application. What exactly it is representing, right?
Yes. What is classifier? Yeah, that's the question.
Okay. Yeah, I only know about like we define it as a Mule application. Let's say in Mule Maven plugin,
Yeah.
okay, if we have a Mule application, we want to deploy it to Runtime Manager Cloud Hub, right?
Yeah.
So
Can
we
can
use,
you can you quickly open any pom.xml if you have anything? Yeah.
yeah,
Keep it ready. Go to pom.xml. Yeah. If you go down,
okay,
okay. So if you see that here for the dependency, there is a classifier. Go to dependency, not here.
yeah,
See here, classifier. So guys, classifier is something like what is when we expose this to your exchange, right? Whether it's a plugin, whether it's a policy, whether it's a mule application, okay? And when you download, whether you are downloading that dependency as a plugin, okay? So it will work like a plugin. When you download your raml create project, that will be a raml, okay? That will be a zip file. You'll get it as a raml, okay, and that will be dependency. So there are different classifiers you can have. One of them is mule plugin, another is raml, there will be a mule application, okay, there will be a policy. When you upload that, you actually tell explicitly that this asset I am exposing or publishing as a policy or a plugin or a raml. So that's what the classifier means here,
yeah,
okay. Hmm. How to identify the compatible dependency version? Compatible dependency version. Okay, that's where the Maven come into picture, Srinivas. Okay, so you'll be getting latest version. Then you need to see that whether that version is working for you or not. Okay, so compatibility only decided once you build the code. So for example, recently we used to face error in CI/CD pipeline. So CI/CD pipeline, you need a runner, right? On that runner, Maven will be automatically downloaded. You don't need to download Maven on that. So it used to download latest Maven, which is 3.9.0, and 3.9.0 was having problem. Okay, it was missing one library, and our entire pipeline were start failing immediately without making any change to the CI/CD pipeline. It started crying, saying that this package is missing. Not weird. We have seen that when we went to the log, instead of using that Maven version which we want, which is 3.8.1, it was actually using 3.9.0, and that 3.9.0 was having problem. So then we enforce 3.8.1 for the Maven, okay, and then our code started working. So compatibility you cannot decide. You need to check what is added to that latest version, and then only you should upgrade your dependency to that version. Okay, otherwise you should not. That's the reason we are discussing about the BOM now, where we'll be keeping all the versions. So our team will be there. Will be telling us, hey, this is the stable dependency version you can go for, or we supposed to use. You should use that version only. Okay. Hope
yeah.
that's answer to your question.
Yeah, we'll look at the scenario ahead
Yes. Yes.
as we go.
And Ashish, one
Yeah.
question somebody's asked, like how
Mhm.
the Maven is downloading the file, right? So
Yes.
backend MuleSoft is using Nexus repository. It's holding all the dependent jars or libraries, right? So if you see in your POM file, there is one default, URLs. I will ping you. But Sham, if you can open any POM file,
Mm-hmm.
go to uh, go to the repositories once.
Yeah,
So in the plugin repositories, you have plugin repositories at the end.
yeah,
Yeah. So open that. Open this link, the release one. Yeah. So here you can see it's a Nexus repository. MuleSoft is storing every releases.
Gaza, this is not Nexus repository. Okay, this is the public repository. Nexus repository, you need the credentials to access.
right.
Okay, so Nexus repository, there will be some enterprise level dependencies will be there. Like, if you want to upload the JSON logger, you need Nexus credentials. If you don't have Nexus credentials, you cannot upload or publish your JSON logger to your exchange. Okay, so here you need now Nexus credentials. So this repository will keep the enterprise level dependencies. Other one will be publicly available. You don't need any credentials for that. Yeah, the data which you may posted in the chat, right? It's a
Yes.
public one.
Yeah,
It's a
that is
public.
that is MuleSoft is
Yes.
holding right now. So
Yeah.
that's what the question is, like how we are getting the updated one, or like from where we'll download it, right? So this is the URL, and you will
Yes.
see if I will give you a minute. You know what? The link here, one more link I will share. So how
That's
from here you will see all the
ammunition.
minute updated version and all. So
Yes.
that's what you will find your latest version, and you can download
Thank you,
the
Gazav.
package.
That's a very good point. Okay, because yeah, where to look for those repositories? Yes, very good point. And here also one the deep again here also it will look for those GAV group ID, asset ID, and
Correct,
version, and
correct.
from there it will download.
Right.
Yes.
And if you
And
want to restrict the versions, you can create your own repositories, custom repository for JFrog or Nexus for your organization, and you can put all these plugins there, and you can use across the organization, right?
yes, yes.
So this is the public, and you can see every versions that MuleSoft is providing or releasing. You can download quickly from the POM files.
I mean,
Yes.
this point, so MuleSoft always provide its clients or customers its Nexus repository access, right, by giving them credentials. So for the modules such as MUnit, right, and MUnit tools, this can only be accessed in the MuleSoft Enterprise Edition repository, correct? And
Correct.
the point that you have raised is if the security is the most important point for any organization and client don't want its developers to go beyond its corporate firewall, then what they can do is they can completely download things from Nexus repository and keep it in their own JFrog or Nexus repository, and the developers can access that JFrog repository.
Right, Sham,
Right? Yeah.
the JFrog or these custom, repositories mainly used
Hmm.
for your customs utilities, right?
Okay.
MuleSoft is already providing your connectors repository, so don't need to,
Hmm.
no organization focusing on that, because MuleSoft is already taking care. It's providing you publicly, right? But if, for example, you create any utility, logger utility
Hmm.
or air handle utility, you want to cross utilize the same, then you can
Hmm.
create it and put in a central repository. All the developers get that dependency and use across.
Correct. Like we use any point exchange repository.
Exactly. That's what. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks for raising that.
Thank you, Gazav.
Thanks. Okay. Should I continue, Ashish?
Yes, yes, yes. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Okay. So we have this Mule Maven plugin, which enables you to integrate the packaging and deployment of your Mule applications with the Maven lifecycle. So what you can use MVN space package, or the another way of writing it is MVN plugin colon goal, right? So whatever you are saying this, so this is the goal that we are running in package goal. So it is going to package your application into this particular format: artifact ID hyphen version hyphen mule hyphen application dot jar. Okay, so whenever you will, so let's say you have a mule application and you have built a simple flow in it, which is kind of running. Now, whenever you will execute this mvn package command on the project's root level, you will be able to see a target folder, and inside the target folder, a mule application jar will be created following this particular naming convention. Okay, and similarly, it goes with mvn deploy. It deploys your Mule app jar to CloudUp or RTF or standalone, whichever Mule deployment model you have, and whatever you have defined it in your Mule Maven plugin under the configuration section. If you have defined it for CloudUp deployment, it will deploy into CloudUp 1.0. If you have defined a tag CloudUp 2 deployment, it will deploy to CloudUp 2.0. Okay, and so on. So for a standalone, I guess it is ARM based deployment, right? Right, Ashish?
Yes,
ARM, yeah.
yes, yes.
Okay, all right.
Okay. So Sham,
Mm-hmm.
you yeah. So if you go with MVN deploy here,
Mm-hmm.
it is it is not going to deploy to your mule target. It is actually uploading your artifacts to exchange. With
Correct.
this command we need to add one more switch over there.
Hyphen D Mule deploy.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
one. Okay, one more thing here, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, for everyone, we are not conducting quiz today because we are planning to have this mini meetup. So one question I want to ask, since we have packaged our jar here, right? Now in Mule 4, there is a architecture change happened from Mule 3 to Mule 4. Okay. And now each jar we call it a module, whether it's HTTP jar, whether it's a database jar, whether it's our Mule application jar itself, we call it module. Inside the modules, there will be one file, very important file, that will take care of class loading isolation concept. Anybody is aware of that file? Just wanted to take the quiz here itself. Okay, you can post in the chat. You can go ahead. Everywhere that file will be there. You open any jar, any dependency, that file will be there. You can post in the chat answer to that question. Who is taking care of class loading isolation, or the who is handling the jar version conflict? Awesome, Sagnik. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so this is the file mule-artifact.json, which will takes care of your class loading isolation. Now, if you open this, yeah, open this file. Yeah, you can see here, the go down here, exported package, yeah, exported package and exported resources. Guys, these are the only things. These are the two things will be available for any other module. That means if I consider my application as a module, outside of my module, only these two things will be visible: validation hyphen message dot properties and org dot mule dot extension dot validation dot API. Other than this, everything will be hidden within this module. If you go back, Sham, just go to the project explorer. Yeah,
Hmm.
here you can see in this project we have multiple jars. So you're looking at validation, right? Validation.
Yes,
See
yes.
here, we have SDK API, we have GUA, JRE, we have commons validator jar. These jars are not visible to other module except this module. So this file will tell, or tell other modules that these are the two artifacts or packages or resources will be available. So this will avoid that uh, conflict between two modules. If two modules are using same jar and they wanted to have different version, then this file will take care of it. And that's where the Mule 4 introduced this file called, we solve that problem by using class loading isolation.
Correct. And also, when we talk about class loading isolation, so it
Mhm.
can happen that there are two dependencies which are using the same dependency, okay?
Mhm.
But both versions that both the dependencies are using may be different. It may
Yeah,
happen, right? So that's why this class loading isolation, that if there is a transitive dependency, then it will load that particular class in isolation. Correct?
correct, correct, correct. And basically, earlier in Mule 3, what used to happen? So
Mm-hmm.
let's say I have two dependencies. My app is there, HTTP is there, database is there. Now, HTTP database in my app, they are looking for one jar, let's say a dot jar. Now,
Correct.
my application is looking for 3.0, my HTTP is looking for 2.0, and my database is looking for 1.0. Now, in Mule 3, everything was loaded in one common class path. Now, from that a dot jar, which jar version will get loaded over there? It will give you conflict, right? So to solve that conflict, now every module, HTTP, DB, or my Mule application, we have individual class loader now. Earlier we used to have common class loader to load all the dependencies libraries in one class path. Now we have separate class loader. You add any dependency to your project, inside that there will be a separate, every module will get loaded by its own class loader. So, and this file will tell you that from that module what things will be available for other modules, so no conflict.
Correct. Yeah.
Go ahead, you can proceed.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's look at a scenario. Okay. So let's uh, let's consider a scenario where an e-commerce organization is launching new mobile application to provide online shopping experience to its customers. So multiple development teams are there, like order fulfillment and payment service team, and they are building integrations and APIs, which is required to support a E2E solution. Okay, and this requires designing consumer-focused API specifications and connecting multiple internal and third-party systems, while also working with the central IT. To realize this, a set of APIs and integrations are being developed using MuleSoft, by adding to API-led methodology, and each team is working at its own pace. Now, one of the major pain points that every team faces is to effectively manage dependencies in Mule application. So, an organization's IT leadership typically sets the standards that must be met as per the compliance and governance standards. Each team must only use central IT approved dependencies, Mule Maven plugins, and their associated versions. And each team is also responsible for reducing the redundancy as much as possible, which includes to make use of existing functionality wherever possible, and like also making use of the standard and enterprise logging, exception handling frameworks, which are already available in the corporate Nexus repository as Mule modules. And other examples also include common Mule flows, reusable data view modules, and so on. Also, each team must make use of the common health checkpoint implementation in every Mule app. So this is also packaged as a Mule module and published to Nexus repository. And each team must adhere to corporate governance standards such as give repository organization and branching strategies, which can be a poly repository model. So in this scenario, the challenge is how we can effectively manage dependencies in a poly repository model. Okay, so now we'll talk about issues with the dependency management, build redundancies, and how to solve them using parent POM and master BOM concepts. Okay, so let's understand why dependency and plugin management is a complex task by taking a simple example. So let's assume we have a developer Chris, okay, and he's working on an application on a project called as Project ABC, and his pom.xml contains Mule Maven plugin version 1.1.1 using one worker of type micro, and also has a HTTP connector of version 1.1.1. Okay, and for some problem his Maven package command is failing and he is unable to fix it. So he connects with another teammate, Jamie. So Jamie is also a developer working on the same project ABC. Upon discussion, they found that Jamie's Maven package command is working as expected, but they found that they are using different configuration values. So if you look at Jamie's pom.xml, she has defined Mule Maven plugin version as 2.2.2 and has used two workers of type large and use 1.2.2 of HTTP connector. Now both of them are not sure which configuration is correct. So they reached out to another developer, Colin, who is working on a different application named as Project XYZ. So sometime before Ashish mentioned that we can have many business groups, right? So similarly, we have two different projects under one organization only. So Colin's pom.xml configuration uses all latest versions of plugins and dependencies. Now this, we can see there are irregularities or there are differences in the plugin versions or the dependency versions being used. Okay, and this issue arises when an organization doesn't have a standard build configuration in place. Now this can be avoided by extracting Maven plugins configurations that are not specific to Mule application to a reusable file, which we call it as a parent POM XML. Okay, and at the same time, dependency management can also be extracted into their own parent POM, which will contain only the versions called as BOM, that is bill of materials. Now, the reason we have a separate POM for versions and for plugin management is because it is more common to update dependencies or plugin versions compared to plugin configurations. Okay, so in this way, we can reduce redundancies by making all projects using a centralized parent POM and BOM, and any changes to these POMs will be reflected in all the projects. Okay, so within the parent POM, we define the plugin configurations. For example, Mule Maven plugin configuration, or we can have MUnit Maven plugin configuration. Okay, and within the Mule application, we just define which dependency and plugins are required. So, and all the versions are managed by BOM. Okay, so any new project can reuse this parent POM and BOM POM XML configuration to avoid duplications and redundancies. Okay, now we'll move on to demo. Any questions, Ashish, until now? Or we'll skip to demo.
No, we can. We are good.
Okay. All right. So what I have done, I'll just give you a brief, whatever I have done until now. So I have created a simple Mule application, but before that, I'll go to, so I have created a trial MuleSoft Anypoint platform account, created an API specification of type RAML. It is a simple API, bookstore API, which contains only one endpoint slash books, okay, and which returns all the books in the particular store, okay. Published it to Anypoint Exchange, okay, as a asset, REST API asset, okay, and then imported it into my studio and created a scaffolding out of that and implemented it. Let me show you the configurations that I have done. It is running on 8081, okay, port. Configuration properties, I have set the properties.yaml, which I have externalized the some values, okay, API port, group ID, artifact ID, version, and specification. And I have used Maven resource filtering as well. And why I have used that? Because let's say you have externalized the Maven coordinates, GAV, right, group ID, artifact ID, and version, which is required by both the API kit router config as well as by the dependency section of POM XML, right? Because whenever the RAML is downloaded, it is downloaded as a dependency. You can see here. So if we don't want any duplicates, so let's say there is a change in version of the RAML, okay, or API specification. So the changes should be reflected in both the properties.yaml as well as here, okay. So what we can do, we can define that properties in the pom.xml properties, and those properties uh, can be copied to properties.yaml as well as here. How that is possible? With the help of this Maven resource plugin, okay. So I have defined these resources. The source main resources filtering is false, but specifically I want to do filtering on this particular file, properties.yaml. So I'll show you how this works. Okay. So if you go to target folder of this particular project, there are classes. Okay. Uh, so there are classes. So for now, you can see dynamic placeholders in this particular file, but when it runs, okay, let me show you the file. See, the values are being replaced. So how this is achieved? Using the Maven resource plugin. Okay. Okay. So I have deployed this application. Let me show you quickly. This runs. Okay. Now, how we will create the parent POM and master POM. Okay. So I will keep the pom.xml as a base. From pom.xml as a base, I will create the parent POM XML. After that, we will keep parent POM XML as a base, and we will create master POM XML. Okay. So let me quickly show you the pom.xml. So let's say if it is a small project, then we uh, try to put everything in a single pom.xml file, right? So all the plugins inside a one file, configurations and dependencies under one hood, their versions, managing their versions in a single POM XML file, and the repositories and plugin repositories, whatever the plugins need or whatever the dependencies need. Okay. So let me just go to, and also I can show you my M2 repo. So I have override my local M2 repository with this particular path. So you can see inside this repo, this is my group ID. The best practice is to give the business group ID, whatever you see at this particular place. Okay, let me show you quickly. There are two ways. One is here, looking at the URL, and one is to go into access management, okay, and look at the business group ID. So whenever you define the group ID, it is better to have your business group ID as your group ID, okay. And under that folder only, you can see a bookstore API got created. Version is 1.0.0. So you can see how gradually we are coming. This was group ID, then artifact ID, then version GAV. That's how it is being traced. Okay, and here you can see the YAML was being downloaded from where. So it was downloaded from Anypoint Exchange as a repository. Since we published our API specification to Exchange, it was downloaded from there. Okay, and that's how my Mule application is able to fetch access it. Okay, if my Mule application was not able to fetch this and download it into the M2 repository, the scaffolding process would not have been possible. Okay, or any such thing cannot be possible. So this is one thing. And
Sham.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So this downloading won't happen automatically, guys. Okay, this needs a credential.
correct.
If your Anypoint Studio is not configured with your credentials, this scaffolding not happen. Even here itself, you won't be able to reach. Okay. Second point, yeah, this is for beginner. Okay, everybody knows it.
Okay,
Second point, very important. Can you go to the pom.xml?
yeah.
Okay, can I parameterize this group ID, top group ID? You can answer in the chat section. Can I parameterize this? Can I pass this value during my runtime? Anybody tried it? You can answer in the chat section. Sham, did you try this? If I say here
Uh,
dollar curly bracket group ID, will it work?
I never tried it, but dollar project dot group ID should work, I guess.
Dollar project dot group ID. No, I am here itself. I am saying dollar project
Okay,
dot group ID means that value will be picked up from here, right?
yeah. You mean from the Maven command only, right?
Maven command. Can
Mhm.
I pass this value 66D6?
I never tried, Ashish.
Okay. Answer is no. It always
Mhm.
looks for the standard value here. Okay. Second thing, if I define a property in the pom.xml, if I define the same property in my properties file, if I pass the value from the command line, which value will be picked up and what is the order? Can anybody from the crowd? Which property value means property is same. Let's say the mule.env is there in the property file, mule.env is there in the pom.xml, and mule.env I'm passing from command line. So let's say, yeah, and okay, how the order will be? I mean, from where it will go? So how the order will be? Let's say I have same property defined in three locations: command line, property, pom. Okay, wrong. Vivek wrong. Okay, the order is command line, then it goes to the pom, then it goes to the property. Yes, Abhishek. Yeah, command pom and then property file. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Thanks, Ashish. And so let me just give you a glimpse of whatever I have done in the POM XML. Okay. So all the properties are present over here. The Maven resource plugin configuration is here. Uh, we have Maven clean plugin version, Mule Maven plugin version, Munit Maven plugin version. Okay. And the rest of them are dependencies. And we have the repositories from where this particular dependencies or these plugins can be downloaded. Okay. So and so on. Okay. So let me just take the pom.xml file as a reference. We'll just copy this. Okay. And we'll just paste it and rename it as Parent-POM. Before that, let me open the POM XML in Notepad and the Parent-POM as well. Okay, let me just switch to okay, for the side-by-side comparison, whatever we are going to do. Okay, so first what we will do, so these are basically the copies of each other. Okay, so whatever you have in the pom.xml, just try to copy paste all these things in the parent pom.xml. Okay, now there are some properties which are specific to your Mule application, like API group ID, artifact ID, version, and visualizer layer of that particular API. So what we can do, we can remove this from our parent POM because this is not application, this is application specific. Okay, so let me remove this. And from POM, we can remove this particular properties, project build, source encoding, and reporting out in output encoding. Okay, Along with that, we can remove app.runtime Mule Maven plugin version, uh, release plugin version, and munit version, because these will not be application specific. This will be common to all the projects. Okay, so let me remove this. Now, if we look at the POM, we have these things: app env, prefix, suffix, and app name. Basically, this is being used in Mule Maven plugin configuration, okay, for cloud up deployment. And this will also stay common to all the projects, right? We can put we have the dynamic placeholders, right? So we can manipulate it. So let me remove this four properties from POM. Okay.
So Sham,
Yeah.
this project hyphen ABC also the
Where you
app
can
dot
see it.
prefix.
Yeah, this is just a prefix that I have given. You can give any prefix. Yeah.
Okay.
If I keep it as a empty, okay, you need to pass it from your Maven command line dollar app dot prefix is equal to, and then
Hmm.
whatever prefix you give. Generally, we give organization name, right, in the prefix. So that's why I took
Right.
this.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Thank you.
Yeah. All the plugins will be managed in the parent form, right? So the plugin management we will do inside the build tag. Okay. So what I will do, I will add a plugin management tag over here. I will copy this. We need a closing tag as well. So wherever the plugins are ending before the build. And now, since the plugin management will be done in the parent POM XML, from the POM XML, Mule application specific POM XML, we can remove the Maven resources plugin. Okay, we don't need it over here. Uh, this will be totally managed from parent POM. Okay, and
Sham,
yeah.
there is a question around that. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
filtered file extension, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Swaminathan is asking, can you explain
Mm-hmm.
that
Okay.
non-filter extension?
Yeah. So the plugin, this Maven resource plugin, will not filter any files with these extensions, that is .p12, .crt, PEM, or JKS. And this is important because these are binary files, okay? And it should not be filtered. If they were filtered, their contents could become corrupted and rendering them will become useless. That's why we keep them in the non-filtered extensions tag. I hope you got the answer.
Swaminathan, that's the answer. Okay.
As those are binary files, right? That's why we don't want them to be filtered. Okay, and yeah, it's difficult to keep a track because we are when we are doing the changes, right? And
No, directly. Yes,
mhm,
Sham, we can save time. If we have
mhm,
already parent POM and BOM, you can keep it here,
mhm.
and then you can show that. Okay, and you start deleting it from the application level POM. Keep the parent POM here. It will take a lot of time, right? If you do
Yeah,
this.
it will take a lot of time, correct?
So keep
So
the
I have.
parent POM here
Mhm.
and BOM. You can show that okay, this
Mhm.
is what removed from the application level POM and kept it in parent POM.
Okay, I can simply show whatever I have configured. Okay,
Yes, yes.
okay, got it. Yeah, because it will take at least 1 hour to
Yeah.
prepare it. Yeah. So okay, let me just move it to another view. All right. So on the left hand side we have parent bomb, and on the right hand side we have master bomb. Okay. So whenever we are referencing to a super something super than it, then we have to give a parent tag inside that. That this parent bomb is referencing to what? So it is referencing master bomb. Okay, the bill of materials file. You can see the group ID. It is the same artifact ID parent form, name parent form. We have keep the properties specific to the Mule Maven plugin configuration over here, and rest of the properties which are needed, we have shifted it to masterbomb.xml. Okay. Why distribution management tag is used? Because let's say if we want to upload this particular parent POM whose packaging type is POM, if you have observed on the 12th line, packaging type is POM. We want to upload this artifact to the AnyPoint Exchange repository. So we need to give this distribution management tag where it needs to put it. Okay. So I have given this particular URL. Basically, it has my business group ID. Okay. I have tried it with version v3 Maven Facade API, but it was not working. So I have to lower down this version v2. So it works on v2 and v1 as well. Okay. If we look at the build, we have the resources, which is Maven resource plugin. Okay. All the plugins are managed inside the parent POM. Okay. Inside the plugin management tag. So you can see Maven resources plugin over here. The configurations are present over here. Okay. Maven clean plugin version. Okay. Can anybody tell me what part is missing from the Maven coordinate over here?
Version.
Yeah, correct. Because the versions are always managed in the BOM XML. Okay, so we have removed even versions from the parent POM. If you look at the Mule Maven plugin, we have this plugin configuration, munit Maven plugin. Okay, you can put the munit Maven plugin configuration in your application specific pom.xml as well. Now, why so? So, Sham, you told us that the configuration should only be managed in parent POM. Then why for munit? So it may happen that you may wish to ignore some files while doing the munit testing, right? So you need to place that configuration in the munit Maven plugin, and it will be application specific, right? That's why. And we can have a Maven release plugin version as well. Now, this is all those things are done in the parent POM. So you can see there are no repositories, no plugin repositories, no dependencies, okay, no versions in parent POM. Everything is managed in master POM. Okay.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Sham,
Mm-hmm.
again, I'll fire one more question. Okay, so question
Mm-hmm.
for everyone. Okay, now let's say I refer this parent POM in my application level POM. Okay, which tag from here, or if I refer this parent POM in my application POM, will all these plugins will be automatically added to my application level POM, or no? Yes or no? If I refer this right away, I don't have anything in my application form. Okay, Krishna, Krishna, why it won't add? Or which tag from here it is stopping to add these plugins to my application? Or what I need to do in my application level form to get these plugins? Anybody from the parent tag? Okay, tag no, Sagnik, I use already parent tag. That's what I said. In my application level form, I have added to refer this parent form. Other than that, do I need to do anything to get these plugins inside my application form? Okay. Okay. Yeah, answer to this is the moment you add this plugin management tag here, right? And you wrap those plugins inside the plugin management, these plugins are not going to add to your application form. In application form, you need to tell that I want this plugin in my application form. Then only this plugin will get added. Same goes true for dependency management also. Unless you add dependency inside your application form, the dependencies from BOM or POM never gets added to your application. You need to tell explicitly. Okay, that's the important stuff over here. That's the reason in plugin management we'll add all the plugins. But when you are referring this parent form in your application form, then you need to tell which plugin is needed for that application. The important point I wanted to emphasize here is plugin management tag, dependency management tag. These are very very important. You can have all the dependencies here in the parent POM or BOM, but do you need all those dependencies in an application? No, you need to specify only those dependencies which are needed for your application. So that's my point to mention here.
Yeah, and also whatever dependencies that you have that you are needing in your application specific form, you just need to define them without specifying their versions. Okay, so only group ID and artifact ID will be present over there. or if any scope is there, right? That
Yes.
thing, yeah, will be present. Okay. So we were in master BOM. Okay. So you can see all the versions, plugin versions as well as dependency versions. I have extracted it from the plugins and kept it in the property section. So this is the best practice to keep all the versions at one place. Okay. Use the distribution management tag. Same. If we do mvn clean deploy, right? So it will install it in our local m2 repository wherever my settings xml is pointing to the local repository. Okay, I'll show you that particular tag. We use local repository tag to point to your local maven m2 repository. Okay, and inside the build we have the plugin management, but here you can see there are no configurations because all the configurations are managed in Parent-POM. Only the versions will be present. Okay, and in the dependency management similarly, we have all the versions extracted to the properties. Okay, we use the repositories, whatever repositories are being used in the master BOM XML only, and yeah, all the repositories and plugin repositories will be in the master BOM. Okay, and in order to refer master BOM from parent BOM, we need to give this parent tag. Okay, here let's say on the project root level only, if we are placing the parent pom.xml, then we need to give another tag called as relative path. Okay, and relative path will be the path to that particular parent pom.xml or master pom.xml. So I can show you. I have a file. Okay, I can show you the settings.xml first. Okay, Uh, mvn help colon effective settings.xml. So this particular command will tell you which settings.xml is being currently pointed. Okay. Uh, so I made some mistake. Yeah. Yeah. You can see that this is the settings.xml. So my local repository is pointing to this particular folder. Okay. I have used this server credentials uh, for Git, for the Nexus repository. Okay. And for my AnyPoint exchange as well. Created a sample profile which is just using this particular URL, v2 URL, and these are the plugin groups. Okay, now uh, so in order to do that, Ashish, I have to like reduce this pom.xml to a next level of version, like reducing all the plugin configurations and all from here. Am I audible, Ashish?
Oh yes, sorry, I was speaking on mute.
Okay,
Okay.
I have to fetch a file. Okay, give me a
Okay.
second. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we have not done that manipulation, right, from POM to parent POM and all.
Yeah, yeah. It take time. I know that.
Yeah.
At least, even if you're expert, you need
Yeah.
15 to 20 minutes.
So let me just fetch that file. Okay. So here you can see I have the reduced version of the application specific POM XML. Okay. So what we have here, so we are referencing to the parent POM. Okay, by using the parent tag. The group ID will be the same. Packaging is Mule application. Okay, we have kept only the application specific properties in Mule application specific POM XML. Okay, and the builds are here. We can see there are no versions, no configurations. only have defined a classifier over here as a mule application. Okay. We can define configuration over here as well for M units, like ignoring the files and all. Rest the application coverage and all, you can override it. Okay. So application POM XML will override the parent POM.xml in case you have defined it at the both the places. Let's say you have defined the dependency version over here for HTTP connector as 1.7.1, but in your parent POM.xml or in your BOM.xml where you are keeping the versions, right? There it is 1.7.3. But if you have defined it explicitly in your application specific POM XML that it should use 1.7.1, then it will use 1.7.1 only. Okay. Else it will be using 1.7.3 only. Then same goes with the all the dependencies. You can see there are no versions over here. All the versions are coming from the what you can say, the BOM XML. Okay. So currently it should show some errors. Why it is showing some errors? Because there are no versions over here and we have not installed the parent pom.xml and master BOM into our local M2 repository, and that's why it is facing some problems. Okay. So I need to install the parent POM and master BOM. Okay. So for that, we will be using a command. Uh, we'll be using, okay, go a folder prior to it, mvn clean install. Okay, first I have to bring those files. Let me just delete this file. Okay, parent POM and master BOM. Paste it in this folder. Okay. So the command will be mvn clean install to install to our local Maven repository, and followed by -n -f and then followed by our path to that particular file. So the path is this thing. Okay, followed by parent pom.xml. Let's check whether it is successfully does or not, or if there are any errors in it. Okay, and it says parent.relative path. Okay, let me first try to do master BOM. Okay, so the master BOM is installed. Some error was there because it was trying to reference that, right? So it couldn't find that relative path. That's why we had to first install the master BOM. Now we'll install the parent BOM. Okay. Okay. So this is installed. So where it is installed, see, uh, you can see the path. It is installed to E and this particular folder. Okay. Let me go to that folder. Uh, to copy that path.
That ID is different, Shyam. It is 516. You are searching in 66 because the master bomb ID, group ID is
Oh,
51.
I got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So since this was on a different, what you can say, I
Group ID.
did this POC on different group ID or a different Anypoint platform account. I need to replace that. But yeah,
Mhm.
we can see that if it is installed or not. So it is 519D, right? So you can see the time is 11:52. At 11:50 and 11:51, right? The master bomb and this got installed. Okay, and let me just first replace the group IDs with the group
Current
ID
one.
that I'm using. Okay, in the master and all at all the places. Okay. In master BOM as well, and also in my application specific form. I hope I have done
Oh,
at all the
one at
places.
one place you are missing, I guess. Go to your master form again.
Mm-hmm.
Down in the
Yeah,
distribution.
correct, correct. So this will be required only when we are pushing it to any point exchange. Okay, I'll show
Yeah.
you that. Okay.
Maybe still you can use that find function in Notepad and see if
Yeah, yeah.
everywhere it
Find and
is.
replace. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess there are no other positions where this can be found. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me try to do it once again. We'll install the master bomb. Okay. It seems the ID is correct now. 661. Yeah, the master bomb is installed over here. And same I will do for parent.pom.xml. Okay, so both are installed. Now, since this application is giving errors, okay, let's try to close it and reopen it once again. If it still persists, let us check. Okay, what problems it is giving? Some issues are there, but okay. If we look at the module versions, okay, you can see 238 Munit tools is using 238, sockets is using 122, 202, and 20. VM module is using 200. Okay, and if you look at the application specific POM, there are no versions defined. Then from where these versions are coming? So it has to come from parent.pom.xml. Okay, sorry, master bomb.xml. So it means that our referencing is working correctly. Okay, I can show you the versions as well. So you can see VM is having 200, validation is 202, that other gens module is having 102, API kit is 161, and see all the module versions are being reflected over here from the master bomb.xml. So this is how it works. Uh, any other questions? Let me.
Yeah, we have from one Yogesh. We have in parent POM, if we have any point exchange v2 configuration as
Mm-hmm.
repository, whereas in new app imported from exchange we have any point exchange v3 as repository in app
Mm-hmm.
POM. Will this create any conflict while deploying to Cloud Hub?
Sorry, I couldn't get it.
See, in master
Mhm.
POM, the exchange version is v2, the
Okay.
URL.
Mm-hmm.
In in your application which you imported from
Mm-hmm.
exchange, it has got v3,
Mm-hmm.
okay, as the exchange version. So when we are trying to deploy that app to Cloud Hub, will it give any issue? If yes, then what we should do in order to replace that?
I've never tried this scenario, but
Yeah,
see.
maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure, please go on.
So.
See, it need to see like first priority
Mhm.
will be given to what? Okay, is it coming from your master bomb or what? So maybe like if you do have, if you want not to have that conflict, so simply you can remove it from your app and you can just import it from your like parent bomb, because that's what we are doing. We are taking everything from the parent or the master bomb, correct? So in
Correct.
that case you can remove that, like you can check whether it is coming or not, and you can remove that if you want, and you can take it everything from the master. That's why we have the parent POM and master POM in place, so that we can have the same versions or same type of configuration throughout all your applications.
Yeah. I would have to try this POC. Okay, I never tried this thing.
I really
Yeah.
don't think so. It will create a problem because why? In
Mhm.
parent POM, you have a V2 version, and it will take your version from V2 itself because you have a reference in your app, right? And this
Mhm.
Correct.
Anypoint exchange V2 repository is only for to download, right?
Correct.
Because you already downloading everything from the parent POM file, and you have the V2 version. So there is no need to worry about downloading part, right? Because you have the reference. If you
Correct.
explicitly download something, then it will go to the exchange 3 only. You understand what I'm saying is, for example, you have a connector version and all. Your parent POM is doing the job for you, downloading and getting the things done, right?
Mhm.
And for example, if a unit explicitly you want a separate version, then any point exchange v3 will help you to that, because you have a this what is say repository section, right? Both the POM file have a repository section. Parent POM have also the repository section, and correct me if I'm wrong. And the app form also have the repository section. Is it right?
Uh, so, Gaza, if I understand it correctly,
Uh
we
huh.
have a parent POM push to slash v2, okay,
Hmm.
slash v2 repository, and master BOM push to slash v3 repository. And so it totally depends on what you define it in settings.xml, right? So it will download it, whatever URL you will give, correct?
See, there are two things.
Mm-hmm.
For example, if a app we are building a new app,
Mm-hmm.
API, right, and we are picking a reference from the parent form,
Correct.
and then parent form is getting the version from the BOM. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so if the parent POM have this exchange v2 configuration,
Okay.
the repository, so then
Mm-hmm.
it will try to fetch all the plugins, the versions, and all from that particular repository. Okay,
Uh, yeah, that is correct.
right? But
Yeah.
in your app, new app, you explicitly put any point exchange v3 version as a repository,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then the extra versions or like amino you want to explicitly add that, then it will download from v3. It will not impact your parent POM stuff.
Oh, got it. But it depends on whatever repositories that you have defined in your POM or master POM, right? It will try, or in settings.xml. So
Hmm.
from the available set of repositories only, it will try to search. Else, it won't, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So I don't think so it will create an issue while deployment.
Yeah.
Yogesh, any other specific inputs you want, or you?
Yeah, am I audible? Was it?
Yes,
Yeah,
Yogesh.
Yogesh is right.
Yeah,
So actually, the problem statement is like in our original parent POM in settings.xml, we have configured V2 repository
correct.
for all the apps. But nowadays, when we are importing new apps like new RAMLs from Exchange, by default, it is having V3 repository in its POM,
True,
right?
true.
So the requirement here was to remove that repository because we want to refer from parent POM.
Mm-hmm.
So now I want to know, like, will this resolve because our new RAML is in V3 repository, right? So while deployment, will it be able to fetch from V2 as well, the same asset?
No, RAML and your connectors, these are different things, right?
Hmm.
So RAML will be in Exchange V3 Exchange Exchange version V3 you are deployed. So that will download or publish to Exchange V3 only. That your API will take care the RAML part. We are focusing on the connector versions or module stuff here. We are mixing
Okay,
two things here. There,
okay, I got it. So
yeah.
V3 is not useful. Maybe we can just go ahead and remove that part, right? So
If
whenever we deploy, it will refer from parent.
uh, see, there are two things, Yogesh. In
Okay.
POM, a parent file, what we have, we right now we have modules or versions, right?
Yes. Yes.
Connectors and all. So try to understand what we are fetching from the parent file, POM file. Okay, that will not create a problem because everything is mentioned in the parent POM file. Now let's come to the API specific stuff. The RAML is your API specific, right? Correct.
Yes, yes.
Right. So if you want to utilize, if you want to download from Exchange 3 version, you can download. It will not create a problem. Both are different, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yes, both
It
are
will not create
different.
a problem.
So we'll need to maintain both. You mean like at app level we will keep V3 and for connectors we will keep V2 in parent. You mean that? Like what would be the resolution I wanted?
Okay. So that things.
No, I think he's referring to adding both of these to his settings XML. You can have both of these in your IDs, right? And you can have your credentials, and both of them will work. You can download from V2, V3.
Yeah, that
Yes.
will. Yep.
Yeah, you can just
So
add. I think you are
app
having V2 and you are not having V3 is what you mentioned. You can add your V3 also to your settings, and you can download from both of them.
see, yeah, this is the workaround that both will work, but eventually we will have to keep the all like latest version, right? So we cannot keep V1, V2, V3 all in our parent form or maybe master form. So I wanted to know like we will need to update those versions as it is updated on MuleSoft.
The parent POM file, I think, like this is the common API. So if you want to update that particular, we can update it, but there is no specific action on the developer side. Okay.
Okay,
So you have to focus on your raml stuff, and rest of the part, I think the parent, the common stuff, if you want to publish all these like want to download from the v3, we can do that, but from the developer point of view, you don't need to check on anything, because
okay,
this is out of your API, right? You are just getting a reference,
correct, correct, yes,
right? So whomsoever publishing to the exchange, he or she can change that as per the demand. So this v2 version will not create a problem for your API. Whether it's a v1 or v2, v3, you don't need to worry about, because we are maintaining a repository in a parent POM file. You just like for your exchange, v3 version is with respect to your raml, right?
right,
Where you really want to publish, so that you can take care.
okay, sure. So yeah,
both
I will.
both are a separate repository for you.
Okay, got your point. Yeah, so shortly I will try this.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. So it will come to know after POC only. Like we
Yeah.
can't comment concretely on it.
Correct. But yeah, as a logically, because you have a parent POM file, right? It will not create a problem, because
Yeah.
V3 Exchange V3, you are publishing or downloading it, right?
Hmm.
So the raml, I'm saying API specific, so that is a separate one,
Right.
right? So that's what it will gonna work. But let's have a try if we found some other findings. So that's the beauty of the meetup, right?
Yeah.
So we'll explore in if we found something, and we'll exchange our knowledge in the
Correct.
next meetup if we
Yeah,
found something.
true. Like
That is
without
always there.
trying, we can just make assumption, but we need to
Right.
try and need to see like
As
what.
per the Maven, what do you say, the experience, we are just assuming it will work, but yeah, let's have a try once. But I hope it will work. It should not be create a
Yeah,
problem. Yeah.
So Maven is such a topic that it is really in-depth topic.
Yeah.
yeah,
More you explore, more things you come to know
But
about
yeah,
it.
thanks Yogesh to bring this interesting question.
Yeah.
true.
Thanks.
Thank you
Okay.
for your
Yeah. So Shyam, what more we have from yours? You can do that, and then we can take other questions.
Yeah, we are done with the things that you have done.
Okay, so we have seen like the use of BOM and POM, and how we are getting the versions in our application POM. Uh,
Correct.
so we have one question from Vivek, like what is the
Mhm.
suggested way to store a settings.xml file when I don't have access to the CI/CD build server and cannot change settings.xml or anything on Maven? I don't want to keep it
Okay.
in source code repo because then the Nexus repo cred will be visible to all.
Yeah, that is correct. So I have seen in many projects they keep settings.xml at the root level,
Hmm.
or in one of my projects that I have done, they have kept the settings.xml in AWS S3. So whenever the project used to get deployed, the settings.xml used to come from Amazon S3, and all the credentials were being used from that, and it was getting deployed. So these two approaches I have seen until now. If anybody has any other scene with any other approaches, please comment out or you can speak it out. Most of the time, I have seen it at the root level only of the project.
Yeah,
Or
mostly we put it in the .m2 if I'm not wrong. There we put it because it will be taking from there as well in our local.
correct.
That's what like I have been always been known. Okay,
Hmm.
that we need to put it to there because it will automatically take it from there.
Correct. But
But
when we are dealing with CI/CD process, right, we won't be using it from local M2.
local M2, yeah.
So it has to come from a remote location where it is being kept secure, like S3 storage and all, right?
Is there any way to encrypt the password and keep settings.xml in repo only?
We need to use combination of both, I guess, settings.xml and security settings.
Yes, so like Ashish was mentioning, there is a
Yes.
security.settings file where we can have the master key, which will help us to encrypt the data inside the settings.xml. So we can have something like that, which will help to minimize the exposure of the credentials.
Yes, I saw it in some of the MuleSoft documentation. If I can find that link. Okay.
Search with secure settings.xml in MuleSoft.
Yeah. Or in one of the YouTube videos I saw, I don't exactly remember.
Anyone want to add on this?
Yeah, I guess this is the way.
I have shared one link. Password encryption. So you can have settings
Yeah,
hyphen
this type.
security.xml where you can use this. You will have you can have your encryption over there.
Correct.
Now this Yogesh, you may use this, which can help you to like don't expose your credentials and wherever you keep it. Hope that answer. Anyone have any other question?
Abhishek, I just have one more question, Yogesh this side.
Yeah, yeah, Yogesh.
So we have
Your voice is
settings.xml.
quite low.
Okay, is it better now?
Yeah, better now.
Sorry. So we have settings.xml in .m2 folder as well as in Maven folder in conf, yeah, directory.
Mhm.
So both are different or same only? Like I wanted to know what's the difference.
I guess the precedence is taken by the settings.xml in conf folder, which you have locally installed. And also
Okay.
it depends on whatever you have defined in Windows preferences Maven, okay? Where in case you can override your setting security path directly to where it should point. Or
Okay.
your settings.xml path as well.
Okay. So both way we can keep, but here we can choose from where it should take, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you can choose the path like which it should actually give more emphasis to.
We can try a POC as well. I have many settings.xml. So in my Maven one settings file, I will take this demo settings. So currently the settings used is this one, okay, that I just showed you sometime before. We'll place one settings in another folder. Let's say at my M2 repo.
maybe Shyam, you can also share that the command which Shyam has used, like that will actually check like which
Yeah, which
settings it is
settings is being used?
pointed to.
Correct. What it is given. Yeah, I'll share that. Oh, this command is wrong. mvn help colon effective settings. Should work out. Any other question, guys? Do you want Yogesh to do that POC? You want me to do that?
No, I can try it later on, I think.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So anyone have any question? We have some time. We can take that.